Venezuela used to be one of the richest countries on earth, and now millions are fleeing, money is worthless, and daily life is chaos. How did it all go so wrong? Venezuela's story isn't just about one country. It's a warning about power, resources, and what happens when bad decisions stack up over time. This South American nation was once one of the richest oil countries on Earth. Today, its name is usually linked with economic collapse, runaway inflation, and one of the biggest migration crises in modern history. So the question is simple: how did Venezuela start, and how did it all fall apart? Venezuela's roots go back to the age of European empires. In 1498, Christopher Columbus reached its coastline, and soon after, Spain took control. The name Venezuela literally means Little Venice, inspired by the stilt houses built over water that reminded explorers of Italy's Venice. For centuries, the region stayed under Spanish rule, surviving on farming, small trade, and colonial extraction. Everything changed in 1811 when Venezuela declared independence from Spain. The face of that revolution was Simón Bolívar, a man who would go on to help free much of South America. Independence gave Venezuela a nation, but not yet a future. That future arrived later, buried deep underground: oil. In the early 20th century, massive oil reserves were discovered, and Venezuela's destiny flipped overnight. By the 1920s and 30s, the country became one of the world's top oil exporters. Money flooded in, cities modernized fast, living standards soared. Venezuela became one of the most stable and prosperous nations in Latin America. People started calling it the Saudi Arabia of South America. But here's where the cracks began to form. Venezuela put almost all its eggs in one basket: oil. Farming, industry, and private enterprise were slowly ignored. As long as oil prices stayed high, no one complained. But when prices dropped, the entire system shook. In 1998, Hugo Chávez came to power, promising socialism, equality, and a government for the people. At first, it worked. Oil money paid for free health care, education, and massive subsidies. Millions of poor citizens finally felt seen by the state. Chávez became a symbol of hope. At the same time, power became centralized. Private companies were taken over, industries were nationalized, decisions revolved around one man. And as long as oil money kept flowing, the system survived. Then came 2014. Global oil prices collapsed, and Venezuela collapsed with them. Government revenue dried up, production dropped, corruption exploded. The country had no backup plan, no diversified economy, no safety net. After Chávez's death, Nicolás Maduro took over, and things got worse. Inflation went out of control. Money became nearly worthless. People needed stacks of cash just to buy basic food. Supermarket shelves emptied, electricity failed, hospitals collapsed. Millions of Venezuelans left the country, fleeing to Colombia, Brazil, and beyond. It became one of the largest migration crises in the world, not because of war, but because daily life had become impossible. Politics turned toxic, elections were questioned, protests were crushed. The US and Europe imposed heavy sanctions. Venezuela became increasingly isolated from the global economy. And in one of the biggest ironies ever, a country sitting on some of the world's largest oil reserves couldn't even supply fuel to its own people. Now, fast forward to 2026. Venezuela is still struggling, but the free fall has slowed. The economy shows small signs of stabilization. The US dollar is widely used, helping control hyperinflation. Oil production has slowly started to recover, and limited international deals have given the government some breathing room. But the core problems remain: weak institutions, political uncertainty, broken trust, and an entire generation raised in crisis. Venezuela stands at a crossroads, either a slow, painful recovery or another collapse waiting to happen. Venezuela proves one brutal truth: having resources isn't enough. Without smart governance, long-term planning, and balance, even oil, one of the world's greatest assets, can turn into a curse. This isn't just Venezuela's story. It's a lesson for the entire world.